I dressed sexy and teased a guy at a party. He made sure I would regret it forever. I never knew that dressing sexy and teasing a guy would lead to the ending of my relationship in such a way that I never imagined. I may have gotten a little carried away, but that does not mean that I can't enjoy even a few things that give me pleasure and make me feel alive. You know what I despise the most? Men setting out rules for how women should behave and what they should and should not do. I mean, I am a grown woman who can make my own decisions. I know that there is a thin line between being bold and vulgar. I believe that I made sure to not cross that line, unlike my husband, who thought that a little dancing will let our relationship go down the drain. I am Trisha, 29 female, married to Joshua, 31 male. We have been together for roughly 3 years now. I could say that this relationship is more of a give and take rather than a mutual partnership. Joshua is 31, but his thoughts and ideas are no less than 50 years old. I mean, he was a bit old school, and I think that was what I liked about him initially when we first got together. I love the idea of being with a man who believed in the concept of one-woman man. It looked so romantic and so exciting that I fell head over heels for him. We got married and moved to a bigger place for which he had been saving for a long time. We were like the perfect couple, and everyone around us adored the way we behaved with each other. Like all good things come to an end, so did our love for each other. It kept diminishing day by day, and the things that we initially found cute started to get annoying. We kept arguing about little things, and soon we were getting bitter about how we felt for each other. What we loved about each other had over the time become the same thing that we were irritated about. It was cute and really lovable when we first got married, but the same things became like a drag as days went by. We did try and get help from a marriage counselor to help us save our marriage. It did work for the most part. Our arguments decreased drastically, and we tried to come to a middle ground on most of the things that we had disagreements on. We slowly realized that our core value systems were totally different, and that was what was causing repeated conflicts between us. I mean, he was an old soul, and I was a modern woman. We still decided to make things work despite all odds and prove to the world that even without similar values, we could make our relationship work. We were doing great for the past few months, with very few fights and disagreements. We decided to stay out of each other's space if we felt that it might lead to an argument. This approach has been working brilliantly for us. We decided to continue to do the same. I was working and spending more time with my girlfriends whenever I had time off, so that I could actually feel alive and live my life. The idea of being stuck at home with Joshua would scare me. Even if I was tired, going out was much less stressful than staying at home in comfortable clothes. It was a friend's birthday party, and I wanted to be the star of the party. I wanted to look hot and sexy, since it had been a long time since I had pampered myself. I told Joshua that I wanted him to come with me, as he was also invited. He did say that he would make time and drive me and enjoy the party, since we had not done that in quite a while. I thanked him for being available and got ready. I knew by the look on his face that he was not very happy with what I was wearing. It was my friend's birthday, and I wanted to adhere to the dress code and have fun. He did not start a fight or say anything, so it was a good sign. We reached and were having drinks with my friends. There was a random guy who was dancing in a very shy way. My friends had played a game of dare and asked me to do something that I hadn't done before and choose the guy I was supposed to dance with. I agreed to it as it was just a silly dare. After I made him blush, I returned to my group of friends and looked at my husband. Looking at his expressions, I wasn't sure if he was mad or upset about the whole thing. I whispered in his ear that it was just a dare and nothing else. He should take it in a sportive way and let it go. He gave me a half smile and continued drinking. I could tell that it bothered him, but I decided to ignore it and have fun. I did not want to ruin my mood over him sulking at something stupid. As the night progressed, Joshua started getting on my nerves, asking me if this is how the night is going to be. I took him in a corner and asked him what the hell was he doing. He said that he was just trying to understand what to expect. I told him that he could hit on someone if he was that bored. I knew that he was not going to do it. To my surprise, he went on the dance floor and started dancing with someone. I quickly grabbed him and said that it was unacceptable, inappropriate, and disrespectful. He said that it was nothing serious and he was trying to have fun. I knew that he was just throwing the same statements at me, but it was not funny anymore. I told him that I wanted to leave if he was going to continue acting this way. I told him that he was not only embarrassing me, but also making my friends uncomfortable by his actions. He got annoyed and said that we should leave if that is how I felt about everything. We had a huge fight after we came home. I questioned his behavior with all my friends, and he told me that I was not a saint myself. He saw how I was throwing myself at that random guy. I told him that it was just a dare and nothing else, and he was taking things too far. I was just having fun, but what he was doing was completely inappropriate and unacceptable. He laughed at me and told me that he does not want to open his mouth and say things before he was ready with what he was planning. I gave him a puzzled look and told him that I had no idea what he was talking about, and when it comes to marriage, I think we both have been doing our part to make sure that this marriage lasts as long as it can. I told him that he did not have to act like he was the only one giving his best in this marriage, as I was also doing the best I could. He then told me that blaming him for everything that happened at the party was unfair, and now he had no choice but to let me know what he already knew about the dare. He asked me to be very truthful and tell me if the guy I was dancing with was completely Angel and a random person that my girlfriends had picked up. I told him yes, and there was nothing I could do about it. But why the hell was he bothered about someone who is not even important to our relationship? He smoked at me and said that at least now he was expecting me to be truthful to him and tell him the truth that I have been hiding from him. I felt a sinking feeling and knew that maybe things were going to change very soon between us. I still tried to look puzzled and seemed like I had no idea what he was talking about. I stuck to my claim that I have no idea how such an innocent act of dressing sexy to boost confidence could turn into something so heartbreaking. Joshua made such a huge issue out of it. I was trying to tell him that it was all in his head. There was nothing other than just me and my friends trying to have fun. They wanted me to do something out of character, and that was a dare I was assigned to do. He was fuming with anger and said that he could read between the lines and know exactly what was going on. I laughed it off and said that now he was overreacting and taking it too far. He said that he knew me and my friends and knew how far we could go to make a fool out of someone. I looked at him with disbelief and said that he had no right to insult me or my friends. I knew that he never liked them, but that does not mean that he was going to say whatever comes to his mouth about them and our friendship. I reminded him that they knew me well before he was in the picture, and they knew me much better than he did. He had no right to talk so lowly about them, and that too in front of me. He flipped his phone open and asked me to look at something that he had stumbled upon by accident. I saw a picture of me with the same guy that I was dancing with in a very close proximity. I dismissed it, stating that it might be from tonight, so what was the big deal about it? He looked at me and said, "Are you sure? Your dress tells me otherwise. Unless you had changed outfits without me noticing." At that moment, I knew that I was caught red-handed, but I had to keep a poker face and deny everything. I told him that I don't even remember where this is from. My job requires me to meet a lot of people, and it could be one of those things. He looked at me in disbelief and showed me another picture where his hands were on my butt. He asked me if even this was one of the events for my job. I was quite sure now that Joshua had more pictures that he was going to show and challenge me to state the truth. There was no point in bluffing anymore, as I knew that more would be coming if I kept denying. Well, it was supposed to be a secret that I was trying to impress my new fling by dressing and making out with him in my husband's presence. I had no way out but to admit to everything and come clean. I took a deep breath and said to him that I will tell him the truth, now that he had proof and had caught me red-handed. I admitted that the guy I was dancing with was not a random stranger. I was in fact having an affair with him. It had been a few months since I had seen him. Whenever I told him that I was meeting my friends, I was in fact spending time with him. Joshua did not look shocked or surprised. I was contemplating if I should continue, or would this much information be enough for him? I decided to wait and let him give his reaction to all of this that I just mentioned. Joshua was very calm all this while, and told me that he got to know about it by accident, as he saw me and my friends having lunch, and what he found strange was that there was a new guy among all the girls. Joshua found it strange, but assumed that he might be one of my friend's partners. He was about to just dismiss it and go his way when he saw the guy come over and kiss me in front of all my friends. That was what kind of made him take a double take and pinch himself to realize what he was seeing was real and not a dream. That is when he started digging in more into my friends' meetups and all kinds of weekend getaways with my girlfriends. He was shocked to know that not one of them tried to tell me that what I was doing was wrong and unfair to him. Surprisingly, they were all rooting for me and my boyfriend to spend more time and get a happily ever after, while he was the one spending and funding all these trips. He said that he then started making a note of all the times I would say that I was meeting my friends or having a sleepover so that he could keep a track of everything. He felt betrayed and realized that I was taking advantage of his trust. He told me that there was not even a single time that he ever doubted that I would be lying to him, even about silly things. But to see me with another guy, and that too, all my friends rooting for this affair, was something unexpected. He realized that I never valued our relationship to come clean and made him a clown in front of my friends. He said that he even followed my boyfriend to his usual bar and befriended him. Joshua would meet him and talk about how he knew that his wife was cheating on him, and all her friends were helping her with it. He told him how it was heartbreaking and how it was difficult for him to process, how not guilty his wife looked at home, how she was such a smooth liar, and how she behaved as if he was the only one who made her happy. He started feeding him hints that Joshua kind of had an idea that he was my boyfriend, and showed the bead that I might even cheat on him or leave him once I found someone better. He was the one who gave my boyfriend the idea of giving me a dare of dancing with him in front of my own husband. My jaw dropped when I realized that I was not the one playing Joshua, instead he was the one playing me all along. I could not believe that Joshua would turn out to be the kind of guy to take such bold steps. I never really thought that I would ever get caught. Even if I did, all I had to do was deny it, and Joshua would believe me. I knew that I was trapped, and I had to come up with a solid reason to have an affair to make sure that Joshua second doubts himself and thinks that there was something wrong with him, and that he was the reason why I had to have an affair. I tried hard to find myself a reason which would show me as the victim in all of this, but there was none. I mean, it was not like Joshua was not nice to me or was not giving me time. In fact, he was the one who wanted to start a family, but I wanted to live a little more and enjoy my life without the stress of having kids. I was the one who was reluctant and was trying to keep a distance from Joshua, as I did not want him to keep pushing me to start a family. I knew that since all our sex was not just sex for Joshua, but an attempt to start a family was scary for me, and that was the reason why I started having an affair, because I wanted to enjoy having sex without any pressure. I also added that he was dear to me, and not once did I think of ending this marriage because of the affair. I told him that I still wanted us to work this out and continue being married. He laughed so loudly and said that I could not be any more serious about it. I was contemplating if I should tell Joshua the reason for my affair, or just stay quiet and let him feel disappointed. Maybe he would just scream for a while and then slowly get over it, and this would end soon. Joshua kept asking me the same question. Why did I have to go and have an affair with a random person, and was he and his love not enough for me? I kept mum and let him speak his mind and finish his yelling so that he could calm down. After a point, I realized that he was not going to shut up anytime soon, and I was losing my patience. He started yelling at me and calling me names, so I had no other option but to lash back at him. I told him that he was putting so much mental pressure on me to have kids and start a family which I was not ready for. All I wanted was to enjoy sex without any pressure, which I was unable to do with him anymore. Every time we had sex, I could see from his face the expectation of getting pregnant. I could not take it any longer, so I started keeping my distance. I told him that I wanted some space to figure things out and mentally prepare myself for starting a family. I knew that he was not verbally putting any pressure on me, but looking at him made me feel anxious all the time. It was like this thought of starting a family was etched in my brain, and seeing him would only sting me every time. I did not plan to have an affair, but I was so frustrated by this constant silent demand from him and wanted to let it out. I then met Tim at one of my work events, and we clicked instantly. I was so attracted to him that we started making out within 1 hour of meeting him. We decided that it would be just a one-time thing and forget about it, but we bumped into each other again. I felt like it was a sign from the universe, and that is how my unplanned affair started. I initially hid the fact that I was married, as I did not know how Tim would take it. Slowly, I introduced him to my friends and took their help to badmouth Joshua, to paint a bad picture of him to justify my affair. Tim had both sympathy and love for me, and I knew that he would not leave me and understand why I could not always be available for him. As time went on, I found myself getting more emotionally attached to Tim, and breaking off the affair was getting difficult. I had to come up with lies to make it look like I was not a bad person in front of him. I knew that what I was doing was extremely wrong. I was fooling two men at the same time by feeding both lies about each other. In my head, it was the only way and the perfect plan to keep both men on my side without having to compromise my interests. Call me a vixen, but I was prioritizing my happiness above all. I don't know when this has become a crime in the world. I might be wrong in my way of looking out for my own self, but I still stand by the fact that I did nothing wrong in choosing my own happiness. If I had to do it all over again, I think I might choose to do the same thing all over again. I have no regrets whatsoever, and I still think that Joshua has been overreacting to all this more than he should have. I know that if I would have been in his place, then I would have been mad for a while, but then made my peace with it. I would have even forgiven him for what he did, because I would have understood what he might have been going through to have cheated on me. I decided to give Joshua some space to process his feelings and calm himself down. He might be able to think better and react in a better way if he had gathered his feelings. I moved into a friend's house to stay for a couple of nights till Joshua had calmed down and tried reaching out to me. I wanted to be the mature one in this situation and behave in a better way to make sure that we are open to giving our relationship another chance. Taking a step back made me cherish our relationship and relive all the happy moments that I had forgotten all this while. Both of us taking some time off would help us communicate better and maybe even resolve this in a quiet manner. Update. I waited for about 2 weeks, which I thought would be enough for Joshua to get over the fact that I was having an affair, and decided to send him a text asking him how he was doing. My messages were not getting delivered, so I thought of going home directly. Probably he might be at work and unable to access his phone. After work, I went home and saw that most of my stuff was on the driveway. Like all my clothes, makeup, accessories, shoes, and there were people even picking it up. I quickly grabbed my stuff and saved as much stuff as I could. I tried to unlock the door, but it always showed incorrect passcodes. I was raging with anger, fuming that how dare Joshua throw away my stuff without my consent. As soon as he drove home and got out of the car, I yelled at him, asking what the hell he did with my stuff. He looked at me with his eyebrows raised and said that this was his house and did not want any unwanted stuff in it. I told him that it was all my stuff and he had no right to touch it. He yelled back that I lost all rights on him and should not be yelling at him when I decided to cheat on him. He could do anything that he wanted and did not need my consent or approval for anything. He was like I was the one who set out to make things complicated between us, so he was just following through. I was obviously flabbergasted by his behavior. I demanded that he give me the new passcode to the house and that I was still his wife. He opened the door and asked me to pick whatever stuff that I wanted and leave him alone. He said that he did not want to see my face anymore and was happy to get rid of me as soon as possible. I told him that all I did was because he pushed me to a corner. It was all because of his unnecessary pressure on having kids that I acted out of character. He laughed and said that he was done with my bullshit and was not going to fall for any of my sob stories. I told him that it was the truth, and he was the reason for me to go around and have an affair behind his back. He then made a call to someone and asked me to narrate everything that he had done to put pressure on me, which made me take such drastic steps and put me in a situation to have an affair. As I kept rambling shit to make me look like a victim, the doorbell rang and I saw Tim walk in. I was shocked to see him here, as I was not expecting him to be here of all places. He had been ghosting me all this while, and now I see him that too in my house after getting a call from Joshua. I was not expecting things to turn around this way. Joshua asked me to continue the tortoise I had been dealing with all this while, so that my affair partner also knows what a damsel in distress I was when I met him. I knew that the version of Joshua that I led to Tim was completely different from reality. I now had to be very tactful of what I was going to say from now on. Joshua could counter everything that I would say about him, as he never once made me feel less of a person or unappreciated in this relationship, which was exactly what I told Tim. I stood there speechless, trying to come up with something that I could point at, which was problematic in our relationship. Joshua said that Tim and he had all the time in the world, and they could wait till I could think of something. Joshua even made coffee for them, and both were sipping it and chatting away while I was sitting there looking at them in disbelief. Tim casually mentioned that not just me, but my entire girl gang was involved in feeding him all these lies and making up fake stories about Joshua, which was the only reason he continued dating me even after finding out that I was married. Now Joshua even knew that I lied about not being married when I first met Tim. I was the one who first approached him, which made Joshua even more resentful towards me. He looked at me with disappointing eyes, and I knew that this relationship was over, as Joshua knew that I was the one who initiated the affair. He then grabbed the divorce papers and said that he had already signed them, so there was no reason for him to see me again. He also said that I could file for a trial, but he had all the proof to prove my infidelity. If I had a lot of time and money to waste, then I could go ahead and file for a trial. He also added that he was letting me go easily with just a simple divorce with no drama, so it was up to me to decide what I wanted. I knew that there was not much I could do right now, so I just took the divorce papers and walked out. He yelled at me from the door not to ever set foot near his house again. I ignored him and just kept walking. I walked to the playground and sat on the swing crying as reality slowly started sinking in. The flashback of our entire relationship started playing in front of my eyes, right from our first interaction to how he was the perfect boyfriend, our proposal, our wedding, and then honeymoon. He was the perfect husband who helped with house chores and made sure that I had enough mental breaks when I needed them. I was the one who took this entire relationship and even my husband for granted. I was the one who wanted more and got greedy. It was not a bad thing that he wanted a family of his own. I was the one who felt overwhelmed by his desire and started ignoring him. I was the one who wanted validation from another man. I was the one who first had the thoughts of having another man in my life who did not want anything else but just my body. I was the one who pushed away the man who loved me unconditionally without judgment. He was there in my best and worst times, acknowledged my insecurities, and even endured my tantrums without getting worked up. In that moment, on the swing sitting alone and looking at the divorce papers, I knew that I lost a man who loved me beyond any reason and doubt. I knew that this was a big screw-up from my end and did not know if I would be able to fix it. I sat there for I don't know how long with tears just rolling down my eyes, unaware of the fact that I was crying. It was already dark when I stood up and walked to my car. I just drove without a destination in mind. I had lost everything, and that fact froze my mind, and I drove cluelessly throughout the night. I did not want to talk to or see anyone at that moment, so I just rented a room at a motel and stayed up all night thinking about how my life had changed so suddenly. To everyone who is reading this, I would request all of you to take your relationships seriously. If you have a good man in your life, then please value and appreciate it. There is no point in risking your relationship for something that is not going to matter to you in a few years. I repeat, do not be stupid like me and throw away your cozy life for some temporary happiness. Please make well-informed decisions and do not be an idiot like me and then cry over spilled milk. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to my story and show your support. Really appreciate all the love which was much needed for me to move forward.